My name is Tommy Rodriguez. I'm 31, and I fix engines for a living in a garage outside Dallas, Texas. What happened last Tuesday when I helped a stranded pilot changed everything I thought I knew about my life. I was 3 months behind on rent, facing eviction from both my apartment and my garage. My ex-wife Maria was threatening to take full custody of my 8-year-old daughter Sophia because I couldn't keep up with child support payments. The bank was about to repo my tools, everything I'd worked for since I was 16. That evening around 9 p.m., I was closing up when I heard this weird whining sound overhead. Through the garage bay window, I saw a small private jet circling low, black smoke trailing from one engine. The pilot was clearly in trouble. The jet made an emergency landing on the old airstrip behind my garage, a strip that hadn't been used in years. I grabbed my flashlight and ran over, expecting to find some rich businessman's weekend ruined. Instead, I found an older man in his 60s, silver hair, expensive suit, but his hands were shaking. "Engine failure," he said. "I'm Dr. Marcus Whitfield. I need to get to Houston tonight. It's life or death." I looked at the jet's engine. It was a Pratt & Whitney PT6A. I'd worked on those before in my military days. The fuel line had a crack, and the ignition system was shot. "I can fix this," I told him, "but it'll take all night, and I'll need $500 for parts." He handed me $2,000 cash without hesitation. "Just get me airborne." I worked until dawn, replacing components, rewiring systems, testing everything twice. By sunrise, that jet was purring like a kitten. Dr. Whitfield seemed amazed. "You're incredibly talented," he said. "Most certified aircraft mechanics couldn't have done this." As he prepared to leave, he handed me an envelope. "Don't open this for 24 hours, he said. "Promise me." I promised. The jet disappeared into the morning sky. 24 hours later, I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a note. "Thank you for saving my daughter's life. She got her heart transplant because of you, Dr. Whitfield." But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was the photo that fell out. It was a picture of my father, who died 10 years ago, standing next to Dr. Whitfield. Both were wearing military uniforms I'd never seen before. The next morning, I was still staring at that impossible photograph when my landlord Frank Caruso showed up at the garage. Frank owned half the properties in this part of Dallas, and I'd known him since childhood. He was my dad's old army buddy. "Tommy, we need to talk," Frank said. But his voice was different, cold, professional. I showed him the check. "Frank, I can pay everything I owe. This changes everything." Frank looked at the check, and something dark crossed his face. "Where did you get this money, Tommy?" When I told him about Dr. Whitfield and showed him the photograph, Frank's expression went stone cold. He took the photo, studied it for a long time, then looked up with eyes I didn't recognize. "You can't cash that check," he said. "What? Why not?" "Because Dr. Marcus Whitfield has been dead for 15 years. My blood went cold. Frank pulled out his phone, showed me a news article from 2009. Renowned heart surgeon Dr. Marcus Whitfield dies in plane crash. The photo matched perfectly. Same silver hair, same face I'd helped just yesterday. "That's impossible," I stammered. "He was here. I fixed his jet. He gave me this money." Frank stood up, and suddenly he didn't look like the friendly landlord who'd given me breaks on rent. He looked like someone else entirely. "Tommy, your father never told you what he really did in the army, did he? He was a mechanic. Like me." "No." Frank's voice was steel. "He was part of something much bigger. And apparently so are you now." Frank made a phone call. "It's happening again," he said to whoever was on the other end. "Rodriguez's kid. Yes, just like his father." He hung up and looked at me with what I now realized was pity. "Pack up your tools, Tommy. You're not safe here anymore." "What are you talking about? You're my dad's friend." Frank shook his head slowly. "I was never your father's friend. I was his handler. Before I could ask what that meant, two black SUVs pulled up outside my garage. Men in dark suits got out, and Frank was already walking toward them. I didn't wait to see what those men wanted. I grabbed the photograph, the check, and my father's old toolbox and ran out the back of the garage. My pickup truck was parked behind the building, and I drove straight to the only person I trusted. My father's old neighbor, Mrs. Chun. Mrs. Chun was 78, sharp as a tack, and had lived next to us when I was growing up. If anyone knew about my dad's real past, it would be her. "Tommy," she said when she opened the door. "I wondered when you'd come asking questions." She led me to her basement, pulled out a dusty box from behind her water heater. "Your father left this with me before he died. Said you'd come for it someday." Inside were documents I'd never seen, military records, government contracts, technical blueprints. My father hadn't been a regular army mechanic. He'd been part of something called Project Nightbird, a classified program for maintaining experimental aircraft. "Your dad worked on jets that officially didn't exist," Mrs. Chun explained. "Prototype stealth fighters, reconnaissance planes, things the public never knew about." I found a roster from 1985. There was my father's name, SSGT Carlos Rodriguez. And right below it, Dr. Marcus Whitfield, Chief Engineer. "But Dr. Whitfield died in 2009, I said. Mrs. Chun gave me a look. "Did he? Or did the government just need him to disappear?" She showed me newspaper clippings about the plane crash. No body was ever recovered. They said the wreckage fell into a deep canyon, but locals reported seeing a parachute that night. My phone started buzzing. Text messages from numbers I didn't recognize. "Stop digging or Sophia gets hurt. Your father learned too much. Don't make his mistake. Return what doesn't belong to you." Mrs. Chun grabbed my arm. "Tommy, your father found something he wasn't supposed to find. That's why he really died." She handed me a sealed envelope from the bottom of the box. "He said to give you this only if men in suits came looking for you." Inside was a key and an address. But what made my blood run cold was the note. "Son, if you're reading this, they killed me for what I discovered about Project Nightbird. The key opens a storage unit in Garland. What's inside will prove that our government has been lying about everything. Trust no one. Dad." I drove to the storage unit in Garland that night, constantly checking my mirrors. The facility was mostly empty, just rows of metal doors under dim security lights. Unit 247 was in the back corner. The key worked. Inside, I found a workshop that looked like a miniature version of my garage, but filled with advanced equipment I didn't recognize. Computer screens, testing devices, and in the center parts of what looked like an experimental jet engine. But it was the walls that made me understand why my father had to die. Photographs, dozens of them, pictures of aircraft that looked nothing like anything I'd ever seen. Triangular shapes, impossible angles, technology that seemed decades ahead of anything I knew existed. And in several photos there was Dr. Whitfield very much alive, standing next to these impossible machines. My father's handwritten notes covered every surface. Whitfield faked his death to continue Black Project work. Anti-gravity propulsion successful in 2008. Government covering up breakthrough technology. They're selling this tech to foreign powers while telling Congress it doesn't exist. I found contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars, signed by defense contractors I'd never heard of. Shell companies with addresses in countries that weren't supposed to have this technology. My father had discovered that Project Nightbird hadn't ended in the 1990s. It had gone deeper underground. Dr. Whitfield wasn't dead. He was the lead engineer on aircraft that used physics I couldn't even understand. That's when I heard vehicles outside. Through the small window, I saw the same black SUVs from my garage. They'd found me. I grabbed as many documents as I could carry and looked for another way out. That's when I found the tunnel. A concrete passage that led from the back of the storage unit to a drainage system. As I crawled through the tunnel, I heard them breaking into the unit above me. Men's voices angry, searching. Find everything, one said. Rodriguez Sr. hid something that could destroy the entire program. I made it out 3 blocks away, but now I understood the truth. My father hadn't died in a car accident like I'd been told. He'd been murdered because he discovered that the US government was secretly decades ahead in aerospace technology. And Dr. Whitfield, the man I'd helped yesterday, was at the center of it all. I needed answers, and there was only one person who might have them. I drove to Maria's house, my ex-wife's place where my daughter Sophia lived. If I was in danger, she might be too. Maria answered the door with a strange expression. Tommy, there are some people here who want to talk to you. My heart sank. In the living room sat Dr. Whitfield, very much alive, and a woman I'd never seen before. Professional, cold, government written all over her. Mr. Rodriguez, the woman said, I'm Agent Sarah Mitchell, Department of Advanced Research Projects. Please, sit down. Dr. Whitfield looked tired, older than he had 2 days ago. Tommy, I'm sorry about the deception, but I needed to see if you had inherited your father's abilities. My father's abilities? Agent Mitchell opened a file. Your father wasn't just a mechanic, Tommy. He had an almost supernatural understanding of advanced propulsion systems. He could diagnose problems in experimental aircraft that our best engineers couldn't figure out. That's impossible. Dr. Whitfield leaned forward. Is it? You fixed my jet in one night using basic tools. That aircraft uses technology that's classified beyond top secret. Most certified mechanics would have needed weeks just to understand the systems. The room started spinning. You're saying I have some kind of gift? Genetic predisposition, Agent Mitchell corrected. Your father's family line shows unusual spatial intelligence and mechanical intuition. We've been monitoring families like yours for decades. Maria spoke up, and her voice was different too. Tommy, I'm sorry. I've been reporting on you for 3 years. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. What? After our divorce, they approached me. Said you might develop abilities that could be dangerous if they fell into the wrong hands. I was supposed to watch you, make sure you stayed ordinary. Dr. Whitfield stood up. Your father discovered we were using people like him to maintain aircraft involved in operations Congress never approved. When he threatened to go public, you killed him. We protected national security, Agent Mitchell said coldly. And now, she continued, pulling out a contract. You're going to help us willingly, or your daughter Sophia is going to have a very unfortunate accident. They gave me 24 hours to decide. Work for their black project, maintaining aircraft that didn't officially exist, or watch my daughter disappear into their system. I went back to Mrs. Chen's house, but it was empty. A for sale sign in the yard. No forwarding address. My phone calls to her went straight to voicemail. They'd made her disappear too. At my garage I found Frank changing the locks. Sorry, Tommy, he said without looking at me. Property's been sold. New owners want you out immediately. Frank, you've known me since I was a kid. I don't know you. His voice was flat, emotionless. I never knew your father either. I tried to go home to my apartment, but the landlord met me at the door with an eviction notice. Failure to pay rent, he said, even though I had Dr. Whitfield's check. When I tried to deposit it at the bank, they told me the account had been frozen by federal authorities. My truck wouldn't start, they disabled it somehow. My phone service was cut off. My credit cards were canceled. In less than 24 hours, they'd erased my entire life. I walked to Maria's house to see Sophia one last time before I gave in to their demands. But when I got there, the house was empty too. A neighbor told me they'd moved suddenly in the middle of the night. Said it was a family emergency, the neighbor explained. Real strange though. Men in suits helped them pack. I sat on the curb outside Maria's empty house and realized I'd lost everything. No home, no job, no money, no family. They'd isolated me completely, made sure I had no choice but to work for them. That's when I found the note tucked under my truck's windshield wiper. Tommy, if you're reading this, they've taken everything from you just like they did to me. But I left you something they don't know about. Something that can destroy them all. Pier 47, Dallas Harbor. Boat slip 23. Look under the engine compartment. Make them pay for what they did to us. Dad, I had one last card to play. And this time I was going to destroy them before they could destroy me. I found my father's boat at Dallas Harbor. A small fishing vessel I didn't even know he owned. Hidden in the engine compartment was a waterproof case containing something that made my hands shake. Video recordings. Hours of footage showing Dr. Whitfield and other government officials selling advanced aircraft technology to foreign buyers. Chinese military officials examining the same triangular aircraft from the storage unit photos. Russian agents paying millions for propulsion systems that officially didn't exist. My father had been recording everything. Not just the technology, but the treason. I uploaded everything to a dozen news outlets simultaneously, along with all the documents from the storage unit. Within hours, it was the biggest story in the world. Government officials selling advanced military technology to foreign powers. Dr. Whitfield was arrested at his home. The story broke everything open. Congressional hearings, FBI raids, international investigations. Project Nightbird was exposed as a massive black market operation using taxpayer-funded research to enrich a small group of officials. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Maria. Tommy, I'm so sorry. They said they'd hurt Sophia if I didn't cooperate. I never wanted to betray you. Where are you? Protective custody. FBI says we can come home next week. The government compensation was substantial enough to buy my garage back, pay off all debts, and set up college funds for Sophia. More importantly, they offered me something I'd never expected. A job as a consultant, helping them identify and shut down other illegal operations. Dr. Whitfield's own daughter, Dr. Lisa Whitfield, provided the final evidence that sent her father to prison for life. He destroyed too many families, she told me, including yours. 6 months later, life was finally peaceful. I had my garage back, Sophia was living with me half the time, and Maria and I were slowly rebuilding our friendship. I was working as a legitimate consultant for the Department of Defense, helping them investigate aerospace fraud. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when Sophia was doing homework in the garage office while I worked on a classic Mustang. Normal, peaceful, exactly what I dreamed of during those dark weeks. That's when the delivery truck pulled up. Package for Tommy Rodriguez, the driver said. Signature required. The box was small, heavy, with no return address. Inside was an old leather journal and a note. Mr. Rodriguez, my name is Professor Elena Vasquez from New Mexico Institute of Technology. Your father contacted me shortly before his death about some unusual discoveries he'd made. I've been afraid to reach out until now, but recent events convince me you can be trusted. Your father found something in the desert near Roswell in 1987. Something that wasn't from any government project. He asked me to analyze metal fragments that displayed properties we still can't explain. Materials that seemed to violate known physics. Carlos hid most of his findings, but he left clues. The journal contains his research notes and a map. If you're interested in learning what your father really discovered, and why certain people wanted him silenced permanently, meet me at the coordinates marked on page 47. But Tommy, be warned. What your father found wasn't just advanced human technology. It was something else entirely. Something that proves we're not alone in the universe. And there are people in the government who will kill to keep that secret buried. Professor Vasquez. P.S. Check the news tomorrow. You'll understand why I'm contacting you now. I flipped to page 47. The coordinates pointed to a location in the New Mexico desert. And the journal contained sketches of aircraft that looked nothing like the triangular craft from Project Nightbird. These were something else. Something impossible. The next morning, The news reported that 3 astronomers had gone missing after claiming to have proof of extraterrestrial contact. I looked at Sophia, playing happily in the garage, and realized our adventures were just beginning.